Hi, my name's Ella Partington. I'm 23 years old and I'm from a small village just outside of Brighton in England. I started playing the fiddle when I was 7 years old. Just outside of Brighton is a village called Fiddle, and every first Monday of the month they'd have a session in the pub and there'd be trad music there, Irish players, all different instruments, and I think I got taken to that when I was very little and that kind of sparked my interest in Irish music. In school I've been doing more classical music and it just never really resonated with me. Don't know why, but I was just like, no, that's not for me, too posh. I could pick up the tunes by ear pretty quickly and I think that's what I liked. It was just easy for me as a kid rather than, them clapping the rhythm, or I just could hear it and I could play it, and that was such a buzz for a kid. Just, yeah, this wow, I can just do something that not everybody can do, and it's free, it's fun, the tunes are memorable. As I got older, I started listening to lots of different players, like Kevin Burke and Quavina O'Reilly, the Glowman, Martin Hayes. Then I discovered the individual styles of playing, which is so beautiful. Like, everybody has their own spin on it. There's no mold, it's just you throw in ornamentation where you want it, or you throw in extra notes or your style, and that's beautiful. Like, when we're in the session, it's all friends together and there's all different abilities and styles, but it's everyone just coming together to play the same tune, and nobody learned it at the same time from the same person. Some people might have learned it from the dots, some people learned it from their grandmother. It's just that kind of unity that you feel within in the trad community. The differences I felt mainly between classical music and trad music. Number one is the violin and the fiddle. Common misbelief, they're the same thing. Everyone always asks me straight away, what's the difference between a violin and a fiddle? Like, hear it now, there's no difference. It's just, for me, it's the way you play it. So I say fiddle because I feel like fiddle has more connotations with more relaxed styles of playing, bluegrass, trad music, country music, and say like a trad fiddle player might hold their fiddle like this, whereas classical, it's up here. It's a different pose, it's a different posture. Fiddle, now we do a lot of ornamentation, kind of rolls, their fingers, slides, that kind of thing. Whereas classical, I feel like, is a more smooth, even tone. There's bowing patterns, there's it's a more of a discipline, definitely. But I think the fiddle definitely felt more my direction and what I want to do. And what I got out of the instrument is what felt like the truest expression of myself. Like, when I play the fiddle, it's all me. Like, it's not a pretense, it's not trying to be something that I'm not, it's just an extension of my arm.
Trad is really a musical world unto itself. There's so many different colours, there's so many different aspects, there's so many even genres within itself, and it's wonderful since the 70s, since the 80s, since Irish trad, I guess, got on the world stage, that it has become a global genre. Of course, it's like a lot of folk musics in other countries, that it really has its roots in the traditions and the customs of the people, in the social music of the people, but now I think it's really evolved into a whole new stream or tributary of different influences, of different creative outputs. So it's wonderful to see that now in Ireland that you get so many tastes, so many flavours brought in from new musicians and from old musicians, and that so much of that is mixing in the middle, is coming together, that people are drawing different aspects, that they're finding their own way of putting their unique identity and stamp on it, while still remaining true of handing on this tradition that's come to them, that so many people have come through. Because I think it's really special in that way that you become so much part of it without too much of this concept of ownership, that you're always, something is passed on to you and you really value it and appreciate it, and you know that you're passing it on to someone else. So at the same time that you treasure it, but that you don't let it get too bogged down or attached in what you're doing, because it can always be adapted, it can grow in different ways beyond you.
When I first moved to Ireland, everyone would be like, so why did you move to Ireland? You must have Irish grandparents or, Irish parents. Why are you here? And I'm kind of always just like, it was always my own interest, my own passion, and it's something that I wanted to do for myself. From my perspective, the music scene in Galway is very connected. I feel like it's a very positive platform for musicians, and once you know somebody, you kind of get to know everybody. Everyone's kind of in each other's bands, we get stolen. It can get awkward now when there's three people on the same bill and you play in all three of their bands. That's when it gets awkward. But no, it's genuinely very friendly, very open, and I think I was very grateful to become part of it. I'd say after about a year here, I'd really kind of found my network of people, and the gigs, it just started happening and just wouldn't stop. Like, Galway is such a lovely, tight-knit community that once you get seen playing with somebody, someone like comes up to you after the gig and is like, oh, I really want to fiddle on this track, like, would you come do this with me? And then I'd kind of be passed around, and it was great. Like, I got to play with so many amazing people and do lots of brilliant gigs. So I'm very grateful that Galway really was the place that everything began for me. Tara was the first person in Galway that I collaborated with. I did the session for his album, and then we got on so well, and musically it really worked. Even though we both come from really different backgrounds. I was just over from Brighton, he's from West Clare. We had a great few gigs together around Galway, and we went up to Dublin a few times and played in the Cobblestone. So from Pa, we kind of moved on to Jack Lee. And Jack and I actually met the first time I ever came to Galway. We met at the open mic at the Roisin, and he played, and I said, oh, I played the fiddle. And then I say we didn't see each other for another 2 years. And then suddenly he saw me playing with somebody else, and he was trying to get a band together. And I was ready to join. So that's kind of the origins of that band. Musically, I felt like 2019 was the best year of my life, like in terms of gigs wise. It was just going, and I felt for the first time that I was actually a musician that was playing regularly, and I'd made all these great contacts, and it was just, this was it, like I was ready. And then obviously the bombshell of 2020. But for me personally, I'm actually so grateful for the time just to work on my own playing. I feel like before I was always playing music for other people and with other people. I'm a session player, so I play in lots of different styles to suit who I'm playing with, but I never really played by myself. I think this year has developed me in a way that if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't have had. Like, it's given me that break to kind of work on things that I hadn't even really thought of before. So it's not been great, but I think I'm grateful for the time that I had to spend on my own playing. My favourite venue in Galway has to be the Roisin Dove. The open mic happens upstairs, and then downstairs they have the kind of venue area and the main stage. And I think the first time I went to that main stage, I think it was Hudson Taylor, and that would probably be like October 2017. So I moved in the September, and I thought, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be the dream to play that main stage? That would be my aspiration. It's kind of just like the heart of Galway and, a tick box. And then roll around to 2019, and I had the opportunity to play there a couple of times. I also got to open in the main stage for some idols, really, that I never thought I would have the opportunity to share a stage with, including Roisin O from Thanks Brother and Junior Brother, two brothers. Yeah, they were two artists that I was just dreamed to be on the same stage as, so that was also brilliant. My favourite things about Ireland, the weather. Not the weather. The people. I've made some great friends, really have, and friends that are passionate about music and of the same vein and the same like-mindedness as myself. I adore living by the sea in Galway. I've actually been sea swimming the whole year, and I think that's definitely a perk of Galway. I love the air. It feels very clean and very open, and just the pace of life. I feel like since I moved here, I've just relaxed internally, even though sometimes it's been full on. It just has this kind of friendliness and this comfort, I suppose, that I didn't necessarily feel back in England. Ireland definitely has been the place that I've kind of come into myself. I've grown up, and I think it was the right place for me to come to. The way that I've found to make a living from music is from covers gigs, and they're brilliant. Like, I was fortunate enough to play in lots of different pubs, mainly over the summer a couple of years ago, and you'd be playing covers for about 2.5 hours, but it was such a good experience because I learned to play loads of different songs and improvisations in lots of different keys and with different musicians. Like, you'd rock up and then the band would rock up and you wouldn't have met, and then you'd just be kind of expected to play a 2-hour set with someone you'd never met before. And most of the time it went really well. I mean, there's definitely a few dodgy solos in there, Galway girl, but it was a great experience. But I feel like that's the way to make a living in music in Galway. The original music scene, I mean, maybe I'm not even scratching the surface yet, but I don't feel like there is the potential to make as much money at small scale. I mean, eventually, hopefully. But as a young musician starting out, the covers gigs is what would make it possible to fund your life here. My hope for the future is touring. I adore being on stage. I think the biggest reward for me in music is gigging. Like, I feel so at home. I love sharing what I do. I love an audience, a crowd, and just bigger and better. That's the goal. Imagine if I love travel, if I could just go around the world playing music to people every single night of the week, I would be the happiest person. So that's where I hope to be. I'm still working here in Galway and building my connections. My absolute dream collaboration would be to be in Hosie's band. I've loved Hosie's music since probably 2014. A big scale band, you know, you've got Hosier in the middle and backing singers, bass, drums, couple of keyboards, fiddle, like that's where I love to be. The fiddle is now my third arm. It's something that I've had since I was a kid, and I don't feel like I could be without it. And I'll see where it goes, but I'm hopeful that it is my future forever and ever.
Sitting on the old 174 and now I'm going home to a bed that is made for me. I lay down on the old cold wooden floor and now I know I'm home. What a life I have made. So if you come home with me, dear, just get used to the fact that we'll wash in our blankets from the clothes off our backs, and we'll lie on the floor with the drop from the door that you will grow to love or you'll learn to ignore, and we'll lie face to face to keep warm, we'll embrace, and I'll keep saying sorry for the state of this place, but you'll say you don't mind because you're not the kind of girl who needs central heating or any of the other things that make a house comfortable these days.